Morning Australia, thank you very much for joining us. Let's get straight to our top story. The federal government has released its pre-election budget, setting up a bitter battle over the cost of living.
Let's go live to 7 News political editor Mark Riley in Canberra. Riles, what's in the budget for Aussies?
Tax cuts for all, guys, not big, just $5 a week from next year, another $5 in the following year. Top-ups, Jim Chalmers says, adding to the stage 3 tax cuts, which will mean about $50 a week in total in a couple of years' time. The opposition calls it a cruel hoax, and it sets up one heck of an election tussle over tax.
This budget builds.
The Treasurer delivers his fourth and most important budget, the government's chances of re-election hanging on.
Speaker, our economy is turning the corner.
A year after controversially but successfully altering stage 3 tax cuts, Jim Chalmers announces 2 more rounds, putting more money into workers' pockets. The catch, Labor has to win the election first and the cuts won't hit pay packets for 16 months. The first stage up to $268 from July next year, the second from July 2027. The total average cut, including stage 3, $2,548 a year, about $50 a week. The cost, $17.1 billion.
The cost of living is front of mind for most Australians, and it is front and centre in this budget.
The tax plan totally rejected by the opposition.
70 cents a day in a year's time, at a time when Australians' standard of living has collapsed.
The Reserve Bank meets next Tuesday, and while unlikely to cut rates then, the budget provides more reasons to do so, forecasting core inflation to fall within the 2 to 3% target range by July, 6 months early. After 2 budget surpluses, deficits galore, but smaller. $27.6 billion this year, $42.1 next year, not predicting a return to balance for a decade.
This plan is a recipe for failure under Labor.
Our economy and our budget are in better shape than they were 3 years ago.
Setting the stage for an election that will be fought on one central issue, the cost of living.
Speaking of which, Mark Riley, will this be enough to win Labor the election?
Well, it's won Labor the fight it wanted to have for the election. There's no doubt about that, and that's all over tax and cost of living. And if it's good enough to prosecute its case, then it's good enough to win. But we don't know what the other side of the argument is yet. We have to wait for tomorrow night to hear Peter Dutton's budget in reply speech to see what his alternative prescription is. Very brave of the opposition, any opposition, to stand between a government and the people and tax cuts, but you have to have something else in your pocket to offer them because people are doing it tough. There's cost of living pressures haven't subsided. They're still there. They're still real. The fight against inflation is still continuing. Interest rates are starting to come down. Wages are starting to go up. We hear all that, but the lived experience of people is that they're still doing it tough. So that's the frame for this debate. If the government's good enough to prosecute its case, it can win the election on this basis. There are no losers in this budget. The only losers are foreign investors who don't vote in Australia. It's a classic pre-election budget, but it has set one heck of a debate and set a fire underneath the coalition and the independents, as we learned just a short time ago. Let's have a listen.
The tax cuts that have been introduced by this Labor government are an insult to those families that have been doing it so tough for so long. An average family has gone backwards by around $50,000 under Labor.
You don't have a plan of attack. Jane, all I've heard out of you this budget is negative, 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 but you have no answers. What is the coalition doing?
Because the future of Australia is at stake here, Jackie.
And that's the big missing component, I guess. Yes, the opposition's negative, that's what they do, but the positive prescription has to come tomorrow night. Something big, something that will capture the electorate's attention has to come from Peter Dutton tomorrow night to set up this debate and give them a go.
OK, the handball has been set. Thank you very much, Mark Riley, for your insight. We'll have the Treasurer coming up in just a few minutes to tell us more about what he offered last night.